It's time for Justice for the People with Pastor Charles Bennett. Justice for the People, exploring issues involving corruption and injustices in the Tri-Cities. The opinions expressed on this program are those of the guests and Pastor Bennett, and not necessarily those of the moderator, management, staff, or advertisers of WHAP. Here now is Pastor Charles Bennett and Justice for the People.
Jeffrey, how are you doing today?
How are you doing?
I'm doing just fine. And when I read this in the Voice, the Richmond Voice, it just really upset me. The Richmond Times-Dispatch article upset me. That's the one I read first. That story broke first.
Yeah.
But the Richmond Times-Dispatch, you know, they're so wimpy. All these big newspapers, like the Progress Less Index and the Hopeless News, they don't ever really come out and say anything. You know, they're so fair and balanced that they're wimps and whooshes. But the Richmond Voice told it like it was.
Yes, you did.
And they didn't have just your picture on the front page. Where Richmond Times, your article was way back in the back, or you know, the B section, I think. But the Richmond Voice, your front page. And I know the Richmond Voice. There's a lot of white folk that they're not crazy about the Richmond Voice, and they're not crazy about the Richmond Free Press.
Yeah.
But let me tell you something. I want every white person to listen to me. You owe it to yourself to get, when you can find the Richmond Voice, read it.
Yes.
Because it's going to reveal things, and you can sift through it. You might be so white that you don't understand that there's injustices in the black community still. But you're not whiter than I am. I'm so white, I look like I came out of a powder factory. I've got white hair, and my legs are so white when I wear shorts at night, I don't even have to use a flashlight. So the point is that you're not whiter than I am, but I've grown in my whiteness to know that there are things that the white press is leaving out. The editors are editing. What do you think they're doing? They're editing, they're censoring the newspapers, and they're censoring the news. And you don't really get the truth. So we need to hear the other side of the coin, the rest of the story, like Paul Harvey says. But your story in the Richmond Times-Dispatch was quite upsetting, but it was like when I asked them, can you get me in touch with Ms. Jeffries, they said, no, we're not, we won't do that. Mm. Now, why would they not do that? I talked to the man that wrote the article in the Richmond Times, who interviewed you, that wrote the article.
Yes.
He wouldn't help me. And that's an indictment against the Richmond Times-Dispatch. Here I am, media. I don't care if you like my media or don't like my media.
Yeah.
If you don't like the fact that I'm not a wimp and a whoosh, you know, at least give me the credit that I do have a talk show that thousands of people listen to every week. And by God, if another media wants to get a hold of someone and they've got the number, they should have given it to me.
You're correct.
But they didn't. But when I called the Richmond Voice, within 15 minutes, you were on the phone with me.
That's right.
And all the Richmond Times had to do was just call you. They had your number. They had your information, didn't they?
Yes.
But you see, their prejudice. Their prejudice is against the citizens. It's for whoever's in authority, because they want to rub their nose on the people that are in authority. See, because the little people down here doesn't mean anything to them, and that's why newspapers across the country are going bankrupt. They're all in trouble, and I hope Barack Obama doesn't bail them out. But here, your story is a story that you're just a little tiny woman.
Yes.
Did you have a regular
120 soaking wet?
120. I doubt if you're 120. But you're there. You're seeing black men being treated very unfairly, unjust. Now let me tell you something that I want you to see if you can relate to this. In Chesterfield, there's an officer there that lied in court on my son for obstruction of justice at a Halloween party. Lied. And my son has 200 hours of community service. His name is Mr. Laffoon. I call him Laffoon the baboon. He should have been ousted from the police department. He's a liar. He is standing right there at a bar. Now, people in the bar know they've been drinking. So instead of going home, driving themselves home, they're calling their friends. Here, a friend pulls up at the bar to take this guy home. Several people home. When the man walks from the bar across the sidewalk to get into the car, Laffoon arrests him for being drunk in public. Hello?
Yeah.
They arrested him, and he wasn't drunk in public. He was in the bar.
Leaving. How do you get home?
How do you get across? How do you get from the bar? You know, he should have called Scotty to beam him from the bar into the car. But you see, we couldn't get a hold of Jim Kirk, you know. So we can't do that. And here you are, just an innocent bystander. You weren't drunk, right?
No, I don't drink.
They never accused you of being drinking.
No.
And there's a ruckus, and you're seeing something.
Yes.
Whether they were being treated fairly or unfairly, you have a right to turn on your cell phone and record it, or a camera. Did
Yes.
you have a camera or your cell phone?
A camera.
Same camera.
Yeah.
Did you have here today?
Yeah.
Now, folks, Mrs. Jefferson turns on her camera, starts recording what's going on, and the police start saying what to you?
Well, first when we walked out of the door, the police officers were saying, "Get the F down the street." So that's what.
Well, what
like,
basis?
wow.
What basis can they cuss us and we can't cuss them?
Yeah. Oh, they are very unruly. So, they were with a young man, about 6 police officers. I want to say like 6 or 7. And I don't have a problem with the police officers doing their job. I have a problem with excessive force.
Yes.
It doesn't take the extreme measure, you know, that they use to apprehend anybody.
When the man's down on the ground on his
When
stomach,
he's down on the ground on his
they don't
stomach,
have to put their full weight,
yes,
their
they don't
knee in
have
his
to do
back,
that. No,
their foot on his throat.
no. And it doesn't take 6 officers to, you know, the rage. You know, I have a problem with the rage. If this is your job, I feel like your rage should be at a minimum, because you are dealing with some people who are under the influence of alcohol.
Right.
You know, it's down in Shockoe Bottom. There's like 4 or 5 nightclubs in that area. So people are sometimes out of their regular selves.
Sure.
So we understand that.
Sure.